And let's welcome in Newsmax Chief Washington correspondent John Gizzi to talk to us about the cloud hanging over Washington, D.C., and that is the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on Obamacare. So things might not be as dire as we first were warned, John, if the High Court tosses out some of those federal subsidies under King v. Burwell. Two states now, according to The Hill, Pennsylvania and Delaware, said this week that they would launch their own exchanges if needed to keep millions of health care dollars flowing after the decision. Both want to use existing pieces of federal Obamacare, the exchange, like it's a website or a call center, a path that would be far less costly than the way most other states have created their exchanges. So, John, what's the scuttlebutt up there at the White House and in Congress about what's going to happen the seconds after the King v. Burwell decision comes down?
Well, John, not a day goes by that this topic does not come up at the White House press briefings, and it has also invited a greater spotlight on people who have alternative plans, contingency plans, if you will. Senators Ron Johnson of Wisconsin and Orrin Hatch of Utah, for example, have what they call bridges. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana goes even further. He has a permanent plan that eliminates the mandates, allows greater competition for health care plans, and provides for portability and other things that are not included in the current plan. In other words, he said, I have the same goals as the Affordable Care Act with his Patient Freedom Act, but it goes about them in a different way. I asked Press Secretary Josh Earnest if the White House had been in touch with anyone on Capitol Hill, Democrat or Republican, who has a contingency plan. And he said, I can't report to you, there are no conversations, and he hopes that the court will rule in favor of the arguments the administration made.
Well, as I like to remind people, John,
the height of irresponsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Hope is not a plan, as we've seen with this president before. And I'm quoting here what you got from Cassidy, what he told you last week, quote, if there is a possibility of a Supreme Court ruling that could destroy the health care of 8 million Americans, it's nothing short of an indictment of the system to just hope for an outcome that doesn't do this. And that's what Senator Bill Cassidy is saying about the White House right now, sitting up there saying, well, if there is a contingency plan, we don't really have one.
There's one key portion of Josh Earnest's reply on this, though. For the first time, I think, the administration is not reciting the mantra that Republicans have no alternative plan on health care. They're acknowledging there are plans out there. I think that's a start.
And do you think that might be some sort of admission from the White House, John, with just about 20 seconds left to go, that this is actually starting to dawn on them that there might be something else besides Obamacare the minute after this comes down?
No one can determine what the Supreme Court will do, as we saw in the initial case that upheld Obamacare, but obviously you can't stake everything on what you want a court decision will be. So I do believe the White House is starting to move on this by not being so dismissive, and I think they will eventually have to talk to Senator Cassidy and company.
All right, well, we'll see if that happens, if they'll open up to that idea. We are waiting with maybe some angst, as that Supreme Court decision could come down at any time now. And Mr. Gizzi is coming back for a special Russian roundtable. Sorry, no vodka, but we do have plenty of stories about politically motivated murders and poisoning, including this man's, Vladimir Kara-Murza, who is right now fighting for his life.
I think it's very important for present-day Russia to see the real heroes, not the communist apparatchiks and the KGB enablers whom the Kremlin propaganda claims, to be the real heroes of our history. For me, the real heroes are the brave people who stood up to the injustice, to the lies, to the repression.
There he was, talking to an academic group here in the United States not too long ago. Shortly after that, he collapsed in his own office in a state-owned Russian office building. A lot of questions about this now. Again, he's fighting for his life. We're going to talk about that with John Gizzi, a special guest correspondent, Craig Kopitas, who's covered Russia for many years. They're going to join us for this breakdown in our roundtable, which is coming up right after this.